Hey everybody, this is Nightwatch N8. Yes, I'm still your host of the Nightwatch Podcast. Sorry for all the noise, but I'm driving the big 7.3 F-250 diesel. And I'm riding, of course, with Bozzy McGee. Almost driving off the road too at the same time. I gotta be careful. I look like a slob. It's just because I'm wearing my, it's actually I thought that was a stain. That was actually a logo sewn into the shirt, but I got other spots and such. Been actually working on some projects on the house, the main house. And, there's a lot of things like little baby turkeys just crossed the road. Oh, gobblers everywhere, gobblers everywhere. See if I can spot one for you guys. Yep, there they are. See in the grass? Those little turkeys? That's a lot of turkeys. Holy moly. You can see all those turkeys. And Bozzy spotted them, right, Boz? Yeah, that's a good-sized population of turkeys. Wild turkeys up here in the Rocky Mountains. So yeah, I've been doing some real life work, not so much the content lately. It's like the final dog days of summer up here in the Rockies, and just trying to get as much done as I humanly possibly can before old man winter will arrive on the scene once again, on the crime scene. And back to hell freezing over, I guess. It's not that bad. It's just there's nothing I can do much outside. We'll probably be doing a lot of interior work on the house. Some I don't know, walls. I got a separate lady who wants me to do her walls, potentially her whole interior of her house. She's getting ready to sell. Hopefully not. I'm not really into that big of a project right now. I got so many of them myself. Got the deck to stain. I just did the what's it called? The brick molding for the main entryway and the door today. That was a bit of a trick, especially working around the vinyl siding. And I should have done a video on that, like a how-to video. I'd probably get more views than my random rants from the road and bitching and moaning about politics all the time, right, guys? Actually, it's pretty freeing. It's my mind right now is just so clear, even though it's, for me, that doesn't mean much. I don't know what that means, but the lack of sleep is definitely taking its toll on my brain and my thinking capacity, my focus mainly. So I'm trying to regain that ground a little bit, get a little bit better sleep. I'm not really yet there, of course, because I'm called Nightwatch N8 for a reason, right, guys? I have always been an insomniac ever since I can remember. My teenage years, I'd be up all night and pretty much sleeping most of the day, and it's something I'll probably on my deathbed someday regret. Man, I should have been up for more sunrises and enjoyed every hour of daylight. And of course, it cuts into your productivity, at least when you're talking about getting real world work done outside, outdoor projects. So it's a really bad habit that I'm trying to kick, and if I can ever kick that, then I can probably kick anything, because that's, like I said, a lifelong habit. Anyway, I'm just kind of ranting today, guys. Like I said, I've kind of got this clarity lately that I've just not been paying too much attention to politics. I paid attention a little bit. I still watch some podcasts here and there, other people's, and I've been, if anybody's been paying attention, I've been doing some kind of recaps of my earlier shows just to stay active, right? I don't want to completely abandon all of you people out there who care so much about the channel, right, guys? I don't know what it is. Like some videos they'll get like a couple hundred views, and it'll give me like $5 for a video. That's a lot of money for me, from my hard work making videos. I think the highest one I got, I think it was like 50. I'm trying to pronunciate while I'm getting shaken to death here on this road. Yeah, I think it's like $50 there. That was the estimated payout. So whatever that means, right? If YouTube ever pays that out, but it's strange that certain topics, certain subjects, for the most part, I get like, I'm heavily shadow banned at this point. It's obvious, they keep me under like 100 views per video, no matter how much time I pour into it, no matter how concise and researched and epic, right? The atmosphere I've created, the special effects, the topic doesn't even matter. They try to keep me under 100 views. So, and I even recently, I'm pretty much done with X as well, because it's just the stupidest platform. The whole bullcrap claim that it's the free speech platform, which, like everything else in this world, is completely full of shit, right? It's just bullshit. The claim that X is a free speech platform, when they openly shadow ban the hell of you if you touch on certain topics, like, and this came from a recent Grok conversation I had, I guess. I was just asking Grok, could you let me know if my account, Nightwatch N8 on X, is shadow banned or not? And it gave me a score of 7 to 8 out of 10, right? 10 being the worst of shadow banning. And it admitted that I was a 7 out of 8. And, said that the recent, so a couple days ago, I got another label slapped on my account. And I literally posted nothing that entire day. And so I was like, well, isn't that nice? So they further shadow banned my account even worse than it was before. And part of Grok's response, I guess, was that it recognized that label was slapped on my account, and it said, yep, you're pretty heavily shadow banned, and it would compare, other people with the same amount of followers. I have like 6,000+ followers on X now. Many of them really influential accounts. That's what's ironic. Of course, nobody ever sees my posts, and so that doesn't help anything, right? If you're trying to gain any traction or gain any followings, or so many times I've gotten to a certain number of followers, and then it's pittered out. Oops, I just drove out in the middle of the highway here. And it pitters out, and then it starts dropping and dropping and dropping, and then I might get a couple more, but then it just keeps dropping. And it's like, you know what? I am so sick and tired of your stupid bullcrap little hamster wheel that these big tech platforms have us all on. And if you don't play ball, and according to Grok, some of my subversive topics that I talk about, controversial, like Catholicism. It talked about, speaking bad about Catholicism might get you a label on your account. Or even, of course, one of them was dogging Elon's EVs. You can't make this up. So on Elon Musk's free speech platform, you can't make fun of his Teslas, or fear that for fear of that nobody will ever see another word that you say on his shitty monopolistic platform. And you wonder why, out of the goodness of his own heart, Elon Musk decided to take over, the most go-to news site on the internet. One of the most influential platforms on the internet, which, of course, has all these world leaders. They got little Twitter or X accounts. Donald Trump was the tweeter-in-chief. He did more than anybody to popularize Twitter back in the day. And that's why it's ironic why they, banned him and all that. In my opinion, just making an example, if the President of the United States could get banned off of a big tech platform, anybody can, right? Because that's free speech in America. And And yet I'll hear all this like anti-Semitic, like blatantly, right? I don't care what you believe about the Jews, right? My whole thing is like, they want to put everybody into this mindset where we're constantly second guessing. It's like thought crimes, right? Thought criminals. And this was like a thing back in the Dark Ages, back when the papacy was in power. Inquisitions, they tried to read people's minds, basically, to see what their motives and intentions were, right? Because there's so many unknowns. You live in this time of hysteria, superstition, that you need to torture people to death, practically, or sometimes actually to death, to get them to recant or to get them to confess. But of course, yes, I'm a witch, okay? I don't give a shit. Just stop. Get me out of this Iron Maiden and some of the diabolic, evil inventions of that supposedly religious system that represents Christ, right? Yeah, putting a cage on somebody's chest with a rat in it. So the rat will gradually, basically devour, eat its way into their chest. That's the kind of sick shit, pardon my French again, that the Roman Catholic Church came up with, because they're so holy, right? That holy Roman Empire, holy Roman Catholic Church. The one true church, of course, right? That we must all bow before, beg for mercy. And then we have influencers like Nick Fuentes, who's constantly trending, this obnoxious little, I kind of like how Tucker described him, Tucker CIA-son. I like how he described him as the gay kid in his mama's basement over there in Chicago. Because, the guy is celibate. He is not interested in women. He talks like a fag. And he kind of looks like one. And he's the scrawny little chicken neck kid with a big mouth. And I guess that's all it takes to be an influencer and to be, the go-to source for information, right, guys? You have a big mouth and make a lot of claims, act like you know everything. This kid Nick Fuentes wants us all to return. Like, he literally laments the break from monarchy, like it was a bad thing to break from the monarchies of Europe. And that's because he wants Catholicism to take control, complete, absolute control of this country. And that is the solution that he presents to the quote-unquote problem of quote-unquote the Jews, right? Yeah, let's embrace the absolute monarchy of papal Rome instead of being, ran through, overrun by the scourge of the Jews, right? And the ironic part is that if you do a little history, if you do a little research into history about the papacy, Middle Ages, this isn't the first time, right? Like, the papacy has used the scapegoat of the Jews over and over and over again, usually to resolve disputes, right, within its own, lands, within its own kingdoms, within its own provinces, wherever the papacy ruled. Anytime there was some kind of divisions, I don't know, is this corrupt little fat slob of a pope amassing all this fortune to himself, probably having orgies in the Vatican or whatnot. Is he the real deal? And so to resolve all these differences, they would always pick, the go-to boogeyman. It's the Jews again. And that part of the theory is like the Black Death, the plague. It was the Jews poisoning the water supply, right? So if you can see some of the correlations between today's rhetoric about the Jews, and I'll probably get more shadow bans and labels slapped on this video because I've used that word so many times. But if the algorithms had any kind of thinking ability, reasoning ability, which they don't. They're just mindless programs that pick up on keywords and try to make sense of what we're talking about and, shadow ban accordingly. If they had any ability to reason, these algorithms, they'd realize that I don't subscribe to the whole idea that it's all the Jews. It's obviously much bigger world than just that little tiny nation of Israel over there that started up in the 40s. Like I constantly reinforce to people, the oldest globalist institution, literally the name Catholic means universal, global, right? The oldest globalist institution in human history is the Vatican, the Holy See. Stretches all the way back to like 330 AD, right? According to their own records, claims. They literally see themselves as the successor of the Caesars. And that's why whenever you hear all this talk about America's the new Rome, as Elon Musk recently called it, and what did he put out a meme or a tweet recently about how he can't, or every day he's thinking about Rome, this obsession with Rome. And he literally, I don't care what you say, that was not a natural gesture. You don't go like that, right? With that kind of a emphasis. That was a Roman salute. I think Elon Musk was trying to be cute. And whether or not he knew it'd be a backlash, I kind of think it is kind of this was intended, again, to stir up division. Of course, the right wing is this neo-Nazi group, and it's, it reinforces the confirmation bias of the left whenever we see these kind of public displays or comments. And we see in some certain countries like Croatia. This was actually, I think, the first time I heard of it was like on NPR. And so once again, the left is frothing and freaking out about the rise of neo-Nazism all over the world. And in Croatia, they had like this massive concert. I think it was the biggest in their country's history. And even some of the political leaders got behind it, thought it was a great thing. I think maybe even a couple were there for it, this big concert. And it had I can't remember the name of the band, but the leader of this band was making the Nazi salute. It's like back in fashion, right, kids? Like, who would have thunk, like I constantly comes to mind, like, even 5 years ago, maybe, pre-COVID, definitely, I never thought that that Nazism would start trending again. I always thought that the whole white supremacist neo-Nazi claim was total BS, and it only represented like a 0.5% of the population, and the left need to quit obsessing about race and our differences. And is it like this kind of become what you behold type of thing with the right? Like, after the left has called you neo-Nazis for so long, you just embrace it, I guess, to get back at the left. So now we're all neo-Nazis. I mean, there's nothing good about, okay, you can probably find a couple redeeming traits about the Nazis, but overall, the Nazis were an evil, satanic movement. Okay, guys? Like, just look into some of the dark, like, occultic shit that Hitler was into, and some of these weird-ass, like, parades that the Nazis would put on, public parades, and all the occult imagery and symbolism. And it's like, yeah, dude, they were trying to recreate the Roman Empire, the Third Reich. And yes, of course, they had a relationship, a cozy, cuddly relationship with the Pope at the time, Pope Pius, I think it was. The book Hitler's Pope. Of course, because, Hitler's plan was to make a Third Reich, a New World Order, and of course, the heir to the Roman Empire, the high priesthood, the Pontifex Maximus, was slated to be the religion of choice, of course. And Hitler was, of course, a Catholic. Even though there's, certain accounts of him, supposedly saying things that were anti-Christian and all this. Overall, he's pretty pro-Catholic. And even called Himmler his Ignatius Loyola and all this stuff. He based the SS on the Jesuits, the pattern of the Vatican's counter-reformationary army, the Jesuits. Anyway, so yeah, we're going back to Nazi Germany. Apparently, this was actually a subject of it was my third, original audio podcasts. I did the first one on the Spanish flu, and I saw all these correlations with what we were seeing unfold on the world stage, and just about 100 years ago in our history. And it started off with, yes, the Spanish flu, COVID, and then there was actually, that was right at the end of World War I, or right at the same time of World War I. But then that was followed by this this revival of nationalism, particularly, of course, in Germany, and this what do they call it? This cultural immunity, where you see outsiders, where you see others as literal subhuman plague spreaders, right? Because they were coming out of this psychological trauma of the Spanish flu, and so what was looked for after the Spanish flu was this nationalistic. People looked for a strong man. That's where why the climate was staged perfectly for a rise of a Hitler, and of course there's different whether or not Hitler was really in power. That's my other question, right? The guy was an artist, right? And yes, his Mein Kampf was edited by, of course, a Jesuit, and possibly written by the Jesuit. So throughout history, we have had these same institutions, the oldest, like I say, institution in the world, the Holy See, manipulating world events. And yes, of course, the Rothschilds as well, because they're in bed with the Vatican. Now, the Rothschilds gained their wealth being the bankers of the Vatican, right? So yeah, my second podcast, the first one was about the Spanish flu and the trench warfare. The second one was about mainly about the trench warfare and the maiming that a lot of these people, because the only thing sticking out of the trenches was their faces, and so many of these soldiers had disfigured faces, and I thought that was kind of interesting how it tied into they had all these prosthetic porcelain faces and stuff that were created to try to make them look a little more normal, not so hideous to look at. And of course I connected that to the mask wearing during COVID. And then I had my plan was, I never got around to it because, time, right? There's only so much of it. My plan for the third audio podcast was the rise of Nazi Germany and another world war potentially. And I saw kind of the pattern reemerging, and it's more and more blatant today, of course, with all the talk of World War III, right? Israel running around stirring crap up in the Middle East with Iran, just indiscriminately bombing all these different countries. And at the same time, of course, America, with all the Zionists, apparently, the paid-off politicians who would rather have Israel first than America first. Everyone but, let's say, Massey. Maybe Rand Paul, but definitely Massey. I like Thomas Massey. Whatever people say about the guy, it's like, show me somebody who's doing more good in office than Massey, and just trying to draw attention to the truth, right? Who else is calling for the Epstein files to be released and trying to push forward legislation to force them to release the Epstein files other than Thomas Massey, who, by the way, follows me on X. There you go. He's got good tastes, right? Let me go quick here. yeah, I saw this re-emerging pattern. History rhymes, right, guys? And now all day, almost every day, all the buzz is about the prospect of another world war. And it's almost like, the fulfillment of Bible prophecy in the kind of dispensationalist, futurist, which was invented by Jesuits, of course, is the Counter-Reformation efforts were to take all the world's eyes off of Rome as the seat of Antichrist, which is what all the Protestant reformers in unison believed as they started reading their Bibles in their common tongue and started to understand the pages of prophecy, in particular the books of Daniel and Revelation, and realized that no other power on this planet could qualify as the whore of Babylon, the scarlet harlot, and also the seat of Antichrist, the man of sin, who seeks to change times and laws, literally changed, got rid of 2 of the 10 commandments, and one of them in particular, the Sabbath commandment, has to do with times and laws, right? One that says remember. But yeah, it's almost like they're trying to, with this dispensationalist view and these crusaders like Hegseth, right, in Trump's campaign, it's like they're trying to stage a all-out physical fulfillment of the Battle of Armageddon, even though, as I understand it, most of the book of Revelation is already fulfilled, and a lot of it's spiritual. When it's talking about beasts and stuff, it doesn't mean literal beasts that come out of the ocean like Godzilla or something, right, out of the seas. These are symbols, and unless you know the prophetic codes, the prophetic keys, you don't know what the heck it's talking about. It just sounds like bizarre, acid trips, right? But the Bible is very clear. It defines its own use of symbols, and that's why I brought up, of course, Daniel and how it relates to the book of Revelation, and how, in the book of Daniel, the vision of Nebuchadnezzar, the different kingdoms, the 4 different beasts, relating to the different kingdoms that would rule over Europe and influence basically the spreading of the gospel and God's people, God's chosen people, which is not, by the way, the nation of Israel. The promise is through faith. And Father Abraham was, of course, promised to God would make him the father of many nations, not just one little speck over there in the desert in the Middle East that we're all supposed to, like Ted Cruz believes, we're supposed to warp our foreign policy, bend our foreign policy, possibly provoking a world war just to defend and to continue to bless that holy nation of Israel that is nothing remotely close to holy, right? It's pure evil, and that's the pattern. If you want to rule in this world, you have to serve the temporary ruler of this world, the serpent, the dragon, who, by the way, of course, is who controls the Vatican, the oldest institution on earth. And also, by the way, even according to Grok, and what I got Grok to admit after I twisted its arm a little bit, the world's largest child trafficking network. And yet, guys like Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens, of course, the other Catholic, think that we should all be good Catholics. And let the Catholic Church have more influence on our politics, like it doesn't already, right? With a 7 out of 9 Supreme Court judge is Catholic. You might say it's only 6, but no, I think it's Gorsuch. It's a Gorsuch that claims to be Presbyterian, but in reality on his church enrollment books, he actually still identifies as Catholic. So it's a cute little act that he's putting on to not draw too much attention to the fact that, yeah, Catholics have an unbalanced influence on our political system right now. And but meanwhile, apparently the Jesuits, everybody looking over here, looking over at Israel, Don't look to our own system of government and what we can change from within. Look over here to this other nation that we have no influence over. And it just breeds this mentality of hopelessness, basically. And that's why I don't like the idea of just trying to attribute everything wrong with our country to this little nation over there who, the more you think of it, you look into the history of Israel, it's more like Israel is the puppet nation of Western interests than the other way around. The British Empire and the American interests and the different oil in those regions, and the whole reason why that whole place was created in the first place was a foothold in the Middle East to grab more resources for, again, British interests and American interests, Western interests. Just look at the GDPs, right? I mean, you can't match America, and that's why this whole rebrand of the FBI and the CIA. Let's blame Mossad for everything. Epstein was working for Mossad. Why wasn't Epstein working for the CIA perhaps as well? Perhaps the CIA and the Mossad are one and the same. Follow the money. Anyway, I've been talking too much. It's getting kind of hot in here. Poor Bozzy's over here painting it up. It's like, you gonna open some windows? It was too noisy to leave the windows open. So thanks for listening, everybody. This is Nightwatch N8. Let me know what you think. It's just off the cuff rant again, if you like that sort of thing. If not, it's okay. You don't have to watch. But if you did enjoy some of my thoughts or agree with anything I said, let me know in the comments and like the video, because literally, like I said, I make nothing for all the content that I put on these platforms. I'm making nothing other than pennies, literally. Maybe I think it was like last week I might have gotten $4 out of all the videos that I've uploaded to YouTube, and I'm finally monetized and I get like $4 a week. That's why I was kind of burned out, and I'm kind of doing other projects lately that are more productive and things that need to get done before winter. So God bless everybody. Once again, Nightwatch N8, your host of the Nightwatch Podcast. More podcasts to come. Definitely over the winter I'll have more time, more spare time. I'll be, like I always am, held up all winter, getting cabin fever, nothing else to do but be creative and cover what's going on in the world and see if I can help others make sense of the madness, right, guys? God bless. Nightwatch N8, signing out.